Here's an emotional story about pushing oneself in low times, focusing on imagery. The fog clung to the city like a shroud, mirroring the grayness inside me. Each step through the deserted streets felt heavy, the weight of despair pressing down on my shoulders. I'd lost my job, my apartment, and any semblance of hope I once held. The world had shrunk to the confines of a cheap motel room, the air thick with the stench of stale cigarette smoke and regret. One morning, I woke to the sound of a single bird chirping outside the grimy window. A flicker of something, defiance, stirred within me. I couldn't let this defeat me. I had to fight back, to reclaim the life that had slipped through my fingers. The first step was the hardest. I forced myself out of bed, the mattress springs groaning in protest. I showered, the icy water a jolt to my senses. I put on the only decent clothes I had left, a pair of worn-out jeans and a faded band t-shirt. Then I walked. I walked for hours, aimlessly at first, just putting one foot in front of the other. The city, once a source of anxiety, now offered a strange kind of solace. I watched the sun break through the fog, casting long, dramatic shadows on the buildings. I saw the resilience of pigeons scavenging for crumbs, the vibrant splash of a street artist's mural on a crumbling wall. Slowly, a sense of purpose began to emerge. I remembered a time when I'd volunteered at a local soup kitchen. It wasn't much, but it was something. I found myself drawn to the familiar streets, the comforting aroma of simmering vegetables wafting from the kitchen. When I arrived, I was met with hesitant smiles. My skills were rusty, but the familiar rhythm of chopping vegetables, ladling soup, and listening to the grateful murmurs of those in need brought a sense of peace. I was helping, even in a small way. As the day wore on, I felt a shift within me. The fog that had clouded my mind began to lift. I was still lost, still struggling, but I was no longer adrift. I had found a purpose, a reason to keep going. That evening, I walked back to my motel room, the city lights twinkling like distant stars. The stench of smoke seemed less overpowering, the shadows less menacing. I had faced the day, and I had survived. More importantly, I had started to rebuild, one small step at a time. The road ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, I felt a flicker of hope, a fragile green shoot pushing through the cracks in the concrete, reaching for the light. If, or like my written story, if you found it little inspire. So one thing I think you will definitely do, which is subscribe to my channel for much more content.